Today's part of our Business Spotlight program, I'm with Patrick Moore. He's the managing director of Brooks Group, and they're based in Bluebell in Dublin. So over to you, Patrick. What is it you do, and for how long have you been doing it?
Well, thanks very much, Kevin, first of all, and thanks for having me on. Yeah, I am currently the managing director of the Brooks Group. Brooks, some people may not know, but Brooks have been around for nearly over 200 years in the Irish market, in particular in
Wow.
the builders merchant sector. Um, Again, for anyone who doesn't know what the Brooks do, well, look, we're specialised, I suppose, in building materials, timber, and all products, I suppose, to service the construction sector in Ireland. I suppose we call it from the foundation to the chimney pot. Really, is what we do, covering all areas of that. So I've been in the position for just over a year, having come from 32 years experience in another builders merchants, probably the biggest in the country. So I've learned a lot from there, and that's what has me sitting here today.
All right, fantastic. So you made a change after 32 years, yeah?
I decided to make a change after 22 years. Some people say I'm mad, but look, I think the one thing I'm different probably than yourself, if there's a challenge, one thing I do like is a challenge, and if there's a challenge, I'd like to have a go of it, and probably the bigger the better.
Fantastic. So obviously, Brooks Group has been growing over 200 years. What do you attribute that growth? I mean, I don't know too many more businesses that are lasted 200 years.
I suppose, look, the business itself has gone through, I suppose, in the last 15 years, many owners. I suppose, Kevin, coming from as you probably are aware, coming from the recession in 2009, I suppose the whole industry changed, the whole face of the industry in Ireland changed. Which was obviously with the demise of the Celtic Tiger. In one way, it was the best thing that ever hit the country, and in another way, it was probably the worst thing that ever hit the country, and it certainly hit our sector. Probably the hardest of any sector in the country. Having lost a number of colleagues, but lost we closed with my own previous business. We closed a number of branches and businesses across the country, and there's no different for Brooks. Brooks would have been hit with the same challenges that we were in our previous job. So the
Hmm.
business has really been resilient over the years and has managed to, as I say, it's here today. Kieran Murdoch purchased the business back 4 years ago in August this year. And it's kind of revitalized it a bit. There was probably a little bit of a lack of investment due to the previous owners. There's probably lack of investment in property and in colleagues. But the last 12 months, in the last 4 years, he's pumped in a significant amount of money to regenerate some of the buildings and the premises. And in the last 12 months, we've also started to concentrate on people, and it's our people really that we're trying to invest in now and bring them on. Um, since I've come in, certainly since last year.
Right. Okay. So when you say invest in people, what shape does that take, or what does that look like?
Well, look, when you talk about the growth of Brooks over the years, it's really down to, I suppose, from my perspective, it's down to three things really. It's the people, it's the team that's in the business now, and we've been very lucky to inherit some serious talent in the place. We've also had to adopt and bring in other people from the previous business we were involved, but also from different sectors around the country to have a different, I suppose, take on a business. But have added massive amount of experience to us, and allowed us to change things. But really, it's the people. This business is all about selling to people. People sell to people. It is totally different than your grocery sector and any other sector. You have to build a bond and a relationship with a customer, and that's what kind of tends to happen. The customer, it relies very heavily on the person behind the counter and the person in the yard, because we're the first port of call for any advice, whether that be product advice or certification or any changes in litigation. That's our guys and ladies in the counters. They're the ones that are going to hit with that first. And there's a trust element from them to us, that we can service their account, and deliveries, and quality of product, and declarations of product as well. So there's a huge, I suppose, trust between ourselves and our customers.
Fantastic. Yeah, fantastic. So it's not just building materials. I mean, you're selling the whole, as you say, trust, helping them with litigation, specification, making sure everything is up. And I suppose what people tend to buy is consistency. If we can do this on a consistent basis, uh, people.
Absolutely, I think, and then as you probably are aware, like, price is a big thing in our business, because it's probably one of the most competitive markets in the country, and we're all trading and dipping our toes into the same pond. But the one thing that you have to have is trust, and you have to have an element of loyalty, both from us to our customer and our customer to us.
Right. Fantastic. Yeah. Yeah. Um, if you had to start from square one in business, What would you do differently?
I suppose, and I probably learned this more in the last 12 months, I put more time into building the right culture from day one.
Wow.
I think people dismiss that a little bit. And I think if I go back to my younger days, you'd be a bit naive. I'd been a bit naive. I would have been lucky enough to have gone through several courses, and I would have done a lot of work on. I suppose I would have done a lot of work on business, but culture wouldn't have been one thing that I would have been very comfortable with. I was lucky enough to do a master's a few years back in the IMI, and that brought it really to the forefront for me. So you have to instill a very good culture in a business, and it doesn't come overnight. And it's probably one of the challenges we have in the business today is because there's such a change in people. Like it's an employees market at the moment. It's full employment. If you don't have a good culture and a culture that people are comfortable with, it doesn't take a lot for them to move to another business. So if you ask me what it is, I'd say, yeah, culture that people can come in and certainly the people that we have work, our colleagues that we have working here, that they feel comfortable and that they're happy to come to work. We're not, I'm not that naive that people don't have problems going on behind closed doors. We all do. I suppose what we're trying to instill in people is, look, you come to work, do your job, you get paid, do a good job, and you get extra pay. So that kind of culture as well. And I suppose part of the culture is that we want to protect our people. We want them to come to work every day, go home safely. So health and safety is a massive part of what we do. Like that's what we're saying. We're not on a construction site. We're as good as on a construction site. We have forklifts, we have high columns, we have racking with timber. You know, we have bricks, we have steel. So it's an environment that needs a lot of attention, and so we invest a lot of money in within the health and safety sector.
Fantastic. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I like Peter Drucker, or the quote attributed to him anyway, back in the 60s. I mean, there's nothing new about it. He reckoned culture strategy for breakfast. Get the culture right, the strategies are straightforward.
And he's there, and that's one that was thrown out to us as well. And I suppose again back to my own learning strategy and learning culture are they're too difficult. They're both difficult at the same time.
Very good. Um, you've touched on it a bit there, but what have been your biggest learnings as an employer since you began in business?
I suppose for me, probably it's communication.
Yeah,
Um, you know, I can come out here and spout all the stuff that I want everybody to do, and around sales, around stock, health and safety. But it's a simple thing. It's how that communication is portrayed into the colleagues, but also in that messaging has to be consistent, and it has to be authentic. Sorry, and I suppose that's what it is really, the communication. And look, I'm an North Dub. Sometimes people can't understand my accent. I have to learn to slow down as well when I'm speaking. So you're hoping everything lands, but I think if you keep it simple, Kevin, and you keep it authentic, and again, I go back to the piece. You can throw in a whole load of marketing words and college words, but really people just want plain and simple chat and tell us how to get there, and try and bring people along with us.
fantastic, fantastic. Um, how do you balance your personal life with the demands of running a business?
But if my boss was listening, I'd say I don't have a personal life. I just work, Kevin. Morning news, 7 till 12. And if Kieran Moore was listening, he'd be laughing because he's need the same as me. No, look, I'm involved in the GA. I've been coaching teams in GA for the last probably 12 to 15 years. And
Fantastic.
and I've been lucky enough to coach some of my kids. But I suppose I had good pleasure in that, and I do make room for that in my week. So I'd be doing a bit of work on that in the mornings, and I'd train in 2 nights a week and matches the weekends. I tell people I get to the gym 3 mornings a week. I don't, Kevin. If I get once a week to the gym, I'd be doing well. I think in this job, you do have to be conscious of your health, but yourself when you're traveling or you're at the desk and something's going on. Do you go out for lunch? Not really. You'll have it at your desk. So you're always, I suppose, as a CEO or a managing director, you do have to find that time to cut away from the office. And I remember someone saying that goes on. Sometimes you have to get out of the business to work on the business. So we would take that fairly serious. And it's probably, again, go back to the culture piece. That's the culture we're trying to instill in the senior management team of both Murdoch's and Brooks, that, we take time out of the business to work on the business. And then from a balanced person, like that's, look, I like weekends with my kids, weekends with people, friends that I have and family. So look, it's not a cliche. That's exactly what it is. You need to have downtime. And there's no getting away from that. I think it'd be wrong if you don't.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I'm coaching 21 years now, a bit more. And I can see that holidays or taking time out are essential to have, just from a business point of view, before we ever get into the health and the well-being, etc.
Yeah.
That's to recharge and keep going.
Yeah, I suppose in the last number of years as well, one thing I've done, I tend to read an awful lot now, more than I would have since I did the IMI course. I tend to read a lot more books on more people say, oh, very boring business books, but there's very good business books that you wouldn't read the whole thing. You take chapters from them, and
Hmm.
you try. You might never, I suppose, implement everything that you read, but some of the stuff that you read is, it takes a little bit nuggets out of it, and you hope you can use them. So
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. No, we're big on that, and with action is reading. We say a client that reads or listens to podcasts. Some people aren't readers.
yeah,
Either one, they become great clients because it's just opening the mind to different ways of looking at stuff and see how you might apply it. Um, what do you look for in employees? What qualities do you look for, and how do you foster a positive and productive work environment? We have it, but how do we foster it?
I suppose. Look, we could lose the cliches. Oh, I want integrity and I want honesty. For me, look, me in particular, I want people to come in and take ownership of the role they're given. We don't. I've certainly, and anyone that you can contest, I don't micromanage. It can be a negative or a positive. But to me, I don't bring people in for me to do their job. I bring them in for them to do their job. And if they need assistance, I'll be there to help them. But look, we give people, when someone comes into Brooks, there's no misconception. It's clear expectations. We will try and give them the right tools to do the job, and we will try and make the culture where it needs to be. If there's a problem, look, we have a chain of command, but if there's a problem at the end of the day, if it's a serious problem, it needs to get to my desk at will. We don't sweep anything under the carpet. And what we try to do is, and it's difficult at times, is recognition. We try to recognize people and successes. As much as I might be giving out about the bad sales day or a bad sales week, if we have a good sales week, and we would have a manager meeting every Tuesday morning with all the managers and the senior manager team. If we've had a good week, I'll tell them they've had a good week, and we'll try and organise something. It's not always monetary, but we all try and organise something. And then you try again, it goes back to the word authentic. I can turn around every week and say, oh, well done, lads, great week last week, when, and not mean it. I think when you have a good week or you have recognised, and it's not just about sales, some of it is about hiring a good person, some of it is about, to be honest, not getting rid of a bad person, and, addressing people that are not performing in the business, and, recognising that, if the good people see that the bad people are not being addressed, it's not good for the culture. And so we would recognise that if we move on. And just stuff around stocks, and if we've had a good week at stock and stock turnover and all that kind of, all those metrics, if they're good, we'll recognise that. And hopefully that forms the whole part of the what you call it, the culture.
Culture, yeah, fantastic. Yeah, no, recognition is huge, and I don't know. I like the 1 minute manager on it. That you say to people that you've done something great, and let them know how that makes you feel. You know.
Yeah, and I say again, I use the word, I've used authentic a few times. Having worked on the shop floor many years ago and having come through the ranks, it has to be authentic, and the people have to feel that you're actually feeling it. And if you recognise and they believe it, it is, it's important. It's important to them, but it's also for me in the role I'm in. It's important that people feel that, look, the CEO or the MD he's looking at my sales, he's looking at what I've done. It might even be a suggestion that we should be supporting this charity, or we should be doing this, we should be doing that. And it's something small. It might not always come to fruition, and you may not take up everybody's idea, but if you recognise, I think it does go some way into making people think, look, these guys aren't just about sales, margin, and profits. They're also about people, the people in the business. And I'd still go back. It is absolutely this business, and I'm lucky enough to have gone through a lot of leaders, but I've gone through. We've looking for the chairman here, and even Kieran Murray, the CEO. They're all about people. There's just That's what the business is made up from.
Fantastic, fantastic. Um, and I suppose just to round up then, Patrick, yeah, what are some common misconceptions about running a business, and how do you address them?
Uh, some people say you don't sleep at night, but I do sleep. I'm lucky enough I can do sleep at night, but that's only after going through many years of ups and downs. And I suppose, look, the biggest one is people often think that the decisions are all made up in the boardroom and it's all about strategy and everything else. But look, it's not. It's small, consistent wins that push the business forward. And it's probably go back to the word with resilience. And I'd listened to Simon Sinek a bit, and I heard one of his comments there. And you're like, it'll be great for me to come in. It'll be great for me to stand in January with a budget and say, Raz, I want to hit this budget by December. next year, and we're going to be, going to be the number one in the marketplace. We're not. It's a longer process, and you're going to have ups and downs in the course of talking 5 year program, 5 year plans. It's 5 years should be the minimum plan because you never know what you're going to hit in an ordinary day. You just don't know what's going to hit you. So the one thing again, go back to is like the whole sign about the elephant in the room. How do you eat them? You eat them in small chunks. You just got to keep chipping away and chipping away and chipping away, and within that becomes the resilience, and then you can make all the decisions you want in the boardroom, but if you can't bring people with you, and it goes back to your point about quote, if you can't bring people with you and they can't see that the strategy you have in place is realistic and is achievable, you've probably lost the room, Kevin, after that. Like, so, it's all about bringing, you're not going to bring everybody with you, but if you bring 90% with you, you're probably going to get where you need to be. And within that, then there'll be fluctuations, there'll be people in and people out. And that's probably business. That's no different probably to anybody else's business.
Absolutely, 100%. It's yeah, Jim Rohn and the bus. We need to know where we're going.
Yeah,
Uh,
we have the right people sitting on the right seats on the bus, as he would say
yeah,
himself. So I suppose that's been a challenge for us, but it's a challenge for me in particular, having come in as commercial director and then moved into the managing director's role. I think the one thing, certainly in my experience, you can't sit in this chair and think that you know all the answers, because you certainly do not. If you think that, you might as well be somewhere else.
yeah,
You have to be open minded and willing to listen to other people, willing to listen to colleagues. And then really, I suppose the most difficult part from being a CEO is you've got to make a decision, and whether that decision is right or wrong, each time you've got to make it quickly, and you have to hold your hand up and take responsibility for that decision that you make.
yeah. Responsible. Listen, there's a whole bunch of nuggets in there for our viewers. Patrick, it's been a real pleasure talking to you today,
So,
and really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to have a chat with us.
no, pleasure's mine, and thanks again for the invitation. I really appreciate it.